Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I'm so glad you took some time out of your busy schedule to join me to learn a little bit more about Black history from a different side, the royal side. I'm Lady TrenettWilson. I am a social historian and a lecturer. And here I am. I was getting ready. I had a big luxury real estate etiquette class. So this was me as we were setting up and getting ready, and it was a wonderful class. And I want to thank everyone for your support. So today's episode I'm so excited about because I'm going to introduce you to someone who really transcended royalty, and he was considered a saint. He was recognized by emperors worldwide, cities named after him, and over 650 religious foundations in France are dedicated to this man. Who am I talking about? Well, his name was Saint Maurice, and I think you'll find him very interesting. Now, before I get started, I want to introduce you to Miss Judy K. Hughes in her new book, Unlock the Light in You. She's our second video sponsor, and I am so grateful and thankful to her. Now, if you have a little grandchild or a little child yourself, and you want to introduce them to learning how to pray and to introduce them to God, then definitely pick up Unlock the Light in You. You can get that on Amazon. Now, to St. Maurice. Set in 3rd century Rome, this story of this great man, of course, when men were gladiators and fought lions and bears, oh my, Rome was taking territory through military conquest. Because of these military conquests, of course, the kids grew up really to be military people, and that is exactly what St. Maurice was. He was born in Thebes, Egypt, and little is known about his early life or his childhood. We also know that he had no wife or children, and that he dedicated his life to God and to military. Now, throughout the Roman Empire's history, the worship of deities and pagan deities and gods, it was a thing. And so after the ministry of Jesus Christ, there were Romans who became Christians. And St. Maurice was one such person, along with many other people. In fact, his Thebes Legion, they were all Christians. He must have been a great leader because even though he led, a legion of all Christians, he also got along with these other people. So he must have been a great diplomat and leader because he was able to practice his Christianity without any problem until a new emperor took over. And his name was Maximian. In Latin, it was Marcus Aurelius Valerius. And he took over, and Maximum was known for his merciless military campaigns, hurting people and families along the way. But he was also most known for his worship of deities. And let me tell you, Rome had a lot of deities. Here are just some pictures of just, you know, um, statues that they made to these people. They even made a coin. Back in the day when the emperors were emperors, they had a coin with their picture on the front of it. So symbolism and statues were very important to them, and especially to these different gods that they worshipped. And they worshipped over 100 gods. And many of us know some of them through Greek mythology, like Venus, like Mars and Jupiter and all of these people. And these are the people who they were worshiping. Well, Maximum wanted also Saint Maurice to worship them. And this is how the story all kind of unfolds. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Rome was, conquering all kind of territories. So they had a region called Gaul. And today, Gaul would include France, Belgium, Luxembourg, Switzerland, northern Italy, and Germany, west of the Rhine. And so he wanted to take over some more areas, but he needed this pass cleared. It was called the Great Saint Bernard Pass, and it goes across the Alps. So that's why he called up Saint Maurice from Thebes, Egypt, to come in his military legion to come and clear this path. So of course, Saint Maurice and his legion, they got together so they could put down this uprising. But before leaving to clear the path from this uprising, Maximin wanted to meet with him. And this is what he wanted St. Maurice to do. He wanted St. Maurice's legion and him to offer sacrifices to pagan gods and to honor Maximin. Now, Saint Maurice, he was ever the diplomat. Instead, he said, "Well, I pledged my military and my legion. We're pledged to the service to Rome." But in the same breath, his reports, he also told him that I would not be worshiping any pagan gods. So for a pagan worshiper like Maximin, that was a problem. He wanted Saint Maurice to bow down to him and to do what he ordered him to do. And Saint Maurice and his Christian legion refused. So Maximin gathered the men from Saint Maurice's legion, and he did something called the decimation, which means he unalived every 10th soldier until they relented and worshiped the idol gods and did what Maximin wanted them to do. Well, needless to say, he wasn't having it. St. Maurice said no each and every single time until his entire legion was unalive. Now, I hope you picking up what I'm putting down when I say unalive, because YouTube don't let me say the other word, but they did that to them. And this man, because of his Christian faith and because of his belief in God, he stood and lost his life along with a whole entire legion of people. Now, the story of Saint Maurice was first told in a public letter by Bishop Hughes of Lyon. He was writing another fellow bishop to tell him about the bravery of this legion. So when the bravery of the legion had been revealed, he was knighted. He became a saint. And he was lauded all around the world by all kinds of Christians and Catholics and everybody. He became a patron saint of the German Holy Roman Emperor. He was so respected in 1926, thousands of years after his passing. The Duke of Saxony, Henry the Fowler, he ceded the present Swiss canton, which were member states, for St. Maurice's lance, his sword, and his spurs. These sacred items were used in the coronation of the Austro-Hungarian emperors until 1916. You know what? The honors didn't even stop there. Usually depicted in his full armor, many towns in France and Switzerland, churches and altars have been built in really recognition of the sacrifice that Saint Maurice made. He even made it to the U.S. He was named the patron saint of a Catholic parish and church in New Orleans in 1856. Pope Pius XII, he declared that Saint Maurice a patron saint to the Italian army and mountain infantry. The number of honors and patronages is staggering. I mean, he was really honored, and still so today. For a long time, in fact, the emperors were anointed before the altar of Saint Maurice at St. Peter's Basilica. So, the towns of Saint Moritz, town of Saint Maurice are all named after this great man. And many times people never even knew that this was a black man who did this. So I always wanted to come and make Sundays the day, or Wednesdays, because Bible studies a lot is on Wednesday evening, to feature a royal black and elite from the religious sector. So I hope you enjoyed meeting Saint Maurice. Now, I would like to say this. Some people doubt the story of Saint Maurice, so you may see a little bit of that. But with the written and oral histories that exist from that time period, there is proof that there were black knights, that the decimation did happen, and that this story is likely true, with some nuances involved. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As always, it was a pleasure bringing it to you. Had you ever heard of Saint Maurice? I want to remind you also, don't forget to go out to Amazon and pick up Unlock the Light in You by Judy K. Hughes. Thank you, Judy, and thank you for watching. I'll see you on another great episode of Royal Black and Elite.